What one of you think I do to y'all? For real.
Listen, stop. Don't do that. Because I can't take it.
Like, no, for real though, what do y'all really think? Like, if they're my thoughts, and I've been fighting this demon since Saturday. If them the demons I'm fighting within myself, do you think I give a flying about anybody else?
In the early hours of May 17, 2022, a mother would be shot dead moments after her son's funeral. On May 4th, 2022, Kalin had just buried her 5-year-old son Kyler, who tragically died from a gunshot wound. Her world had already been shattered, grief beyond measure, as she said goodbye to the child she loved so deeply. But just moments after the funeral, as Kalin tried to process the unimaginable loss of her son, something far darker was waiting. At around 9:45 p.m., police responded to a 911 call about multiple gunshots at Linden Grill restaurant in downtown South Bend, Indiana. When they arrived at the scene, Kalin's lifeless body would be found with gunshot wounds. But what investigators discovered next would change everything. This was no random act. It was the devastating conclusion to a series of events that had spiraled into chaos, pain, and loss. What would drive someone to take Kalin's life just moments after she buried her son? This is the tragic story of grief, heartbreak, betrayal, and a tragedy that no one could have seen coming. This is the life and death of Kyler Jackson and his mother, Kalin Davidson.
Is that all you care about is Papa?
No, not really.
Yes, you're gonna see Papa tomorrow.
Yay!
Born in Indiana, Kyler Nolan Davidson was just 5 years old when his life was cut tragically short. He was the only son of Kalin Davidson and the heartbeat of her world.
I love you.
I like to.
Kalin Davidson was living her life loud and proud. She was known for her bold personality, never afraid to speak her mind and always the first to stand up for the people she loved. Friends often described her as fiery, outspoken, and sometimes confrontational, but underneath that toughness was a heart devoted to her family. To her 2 sons, Kalin and Kyler, she wasn't just mom, she was their entire world. Kalin, her oldest, had taken on the role of protector, the kind of big brother every little boy dreams of having. He was gentle, watchful, and always looked out for Kyler, making sure his younger brother felt safe and cared for. And then there was 5-year-old Kyler, bright, energetic, and full of promise. Unlike most kids his age, Kyler was far ahead of the curve. While many kindergartners were still practicing their ABCs, Kyler was already reading with the skill of a much older child.
Is that all you care about is Papa?
No, not really.
Yes, you're gonna see Papa tomorrow.
Yay!
Let the people see your hair. Turn around. It's called a pineapple.
Pineapple under the sea, SpongeBob SquarePants.
His teachers called him gifted, his family called him brilliant, and his mother proudly shared his little achievements with anyone who would listen. But Kyler wasn't just smart, he had a personality of his own. He was curious, playful, and endlessly affectionate. Kalin's friends and family often described her as fiercely protective of her little boy. She admitted it herself. Ever since the moment Kyler was born, she and his father Derek Jackson had taken every precaution to keep him safe. They created a home where he was surrounded by love, shielded from harm, and given every opportunity to thrive. Kalin often shared photos and videos of her children on social media.
Happy birthday, dear Kyler. Happy birthday to you. It's your birthday, hey, it's your birthday, hey, it's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday.
Kyler was surrounded by love, not only from his parents, but also from his grandmother, extended relatives, and even neighbors who watched him grow. Like most children his age, Kyler had just started exploring the world with wide-eyed wonder. He was playful, energetic, and loved deeply by those around him. His laughter had a way of filling the room, and his smile was the kind that could brighten even the darkest of days. Kyler was described by his father as a mathematician. He was excited when he got accepted into Kennedy Academy, and all he wanted to do was prove that he was smart. His grandmother often said he had an old soul, wise beyond his years, but still every bit the curious child. For his family, the future seemed bright and full of promise. Kyler's grandmother adored having him over. She planned playdates, filled her home with toys and snacks, and made sure her grandson always felt loved and safe within her walls. But tragically, that very place would be where he would be killed. In the days leading up to the tragedy, life for the Davidson family felt normal, almost blissfully so. But an ordinary day at his grandmother's house would set off a chain of events no one would have imagined. On April 30th, 2022, Kalin dropped 5-year-old Kyler off at his grandmother's house on Woodbine Way in South Bend, Indiana, believing he was safe. This was routine, something countless families do every day. But for Kalin, there was comfort in knowing her son was with loved ones, surrounded by the warmth of family. But inside that home was something no one expected: a gun. While Kyler played outside his grandmother's home, the unthinkable happened. He was shot by his 9-year-old nephew, who had somehow gained access to the weapon. Kyler was immediately rushed to the hospital and was eventually placed on life support, but he wouldn't make it. On May 4th, after several days on life support with no signs of recovery, Kyler's family faced the most agonizing decision a parent could ever imagine. Surrounded by loved ones, they made the heartbreaking choice to remove him from life support. Family members gathered at the hospital, holding his hands, whispering prayers, and clinging to every last moment. For Kalin, it was a nightmare she could not wake from, watching her only son, the heartbeat of her world, slip away far too soon. Law enforcement quickly started their investigation. According to Kalin's own emotional words later shared on Facebook Live, neither she, Kyler's father, nor her mother owned a firearm. She insisted they had no reason to keep one in the home. Yet, a gun was present.
So you
I don't own, everybody, they should have put the guns up, and you want to carry a gun. I don't own a gun. My mom don't own a gun. My baby daddy don't own a gun. It was a gun in the house nobody knew about. Let's start there.
And tragically, it was that weapon that ended her son's life. But investigators had many unanswered questions. How did a loaded gun end up in a home with young children? Why was it left within reach? And how could such a devastating mistake go unnoticed until it was too late? The accidental shooting of a child is always treated with urgency, and investigators immediately began working to piece together what had gone wrong. Family members later revealed that the weapon belonged to Kalin's grandmother, who legally owned the firearm. The gun was reportedly not properly secured, which allowed Kyler's 9-year-old nephew to access it while they were at the grandmother's home. As detectives pieced together the timeline, something else was unfolding. Losing a child doesn't just break you, it shatters your entire reality, leaving life unrecognizable. In the aftermath of Kyler's death, Kalin grasped at anything that might dull the unbearable pain. Some days it was alcohol, other days it was prayer, and often on Facebook. It was where her grief poured out unfiltered for the world to see. Her posts were raw, filled with sorrow, but also with anger, much of it directed at her own mother, whom she had held responsible for the tragedy. But in the shadows was one enemy Kalin had made: 26-year-old Kamari Wright. Kamari was a social media personality known for her bold presence and her love of stirring up drama.
If you don't like me, if you don't like me, your baby daddy do. I swear he do. I like him too.
She had multiple jobs, but her real reputation came from keeping conflicts alive and making sure everyone was watching. The beef between Kamari and Kalin Davidson began a few months prior over something so petty it almost sounded unbelievable. Kamari had laughed at a video of one of Kalin's relatives being jumped, and that was enough to spark a fire. Kalin wasn't about to let it slide.
Kalin and her cousin Weezy and me got into it with this girl. Her name is so big like the sun on Facebook. We got into it with her a couple months ago. Weezy thought it was done. So today, as a month, I got 7 people in my inbox with a screenshot of her basically saying that, basically her saying that motherfucker talked about my kids about me being a bad mom a couple months ago. Now look at the situation she in with her kid. So to us, it looked like he was talking about Kalin. So I got on the post and I said, are you referring to Kalin? She didn't say anything. So I inboxed her and I asked her, are you talking about Kalin on your post?
Kalin, along with her cousin, confronted Kamari at a mall, and the two women jumped her. And from there, things spiraled. They started going back and forth on social media with petty insults. However, something would happen that would cut Kalin even deeper. After Kyler's passing, a friend had set up a street memorial. Balloons, flowers, and candles, a tribute for the little boy who had touched so many lives. For Kalin, it was one of the only things that gave her comfort. But just before the funeral, someone would destroy it. Balloons were slashed, candles were tossed, flowers were scattered. The destruction of Kyler's memorial was not just vandalism. For Kalin, it was an act of cruelty. One more wound when her soul was already in pieces. She turned to Facebook again, writing a heartbreaking post. She admitted that everything could have broken her: the family rumors, the funeral outfit delay, even the memorial destruction. But she said she was determined to stay strong long enough to bury her son. Despite the heartbreak, the community rallied around Kalin and her family. Friends, neighbors, and strangers poured out messages of love and prayers online. On May 12th, Kalin said her final goodbye. Kyla's funeral was both heartbreaking and beautiful. He was dressed with care, remembered by family and friends for the joy he brought in his short 5 years. The grief that consumed Kalin was raw and unrelenting. She had just buried her 5-year-old son Kyler, who died a tragic accident, and though she tried to project strength online, those closest to her knew she was breaking inside. Friends and family described her as a mother drowning in heartbreak, doing everything possible to keep her composure. But little did anyone know, the tragedy was far from over, because just 5 days later, after burying her little boy, Kalin herself would be caught in a confrontation that would end in tragedy. On May 17, 2022, only 5 days after her son's burial, Kalin found out through social media that Kamari Wright, a woman she had feuded with for months, would be at Lindell Grill. The tension between the two women had been simmering for a long time, and at this point, Kalin's pain had turned into anger, and her anger turned into action, and this action would have a deadly consequence. That evening, Kalin decided to confront Kamari. She had walked into the restaurant, spotted Kamari, and went straight up to her. Words were exchanged, and within minutes, Kalin would strike Kamari first. But what happened next was beyond what anyone in that restaurant expected. Kamari reacted instantly, but instead of backing down, she pulled out a gun. For Kalin, the fight shifted in an instant. What had started as a heated confrontation turned into a desperate bid for survival. She turned and ran for the exit, but Kamari wasn't finished. Kamari would open fire, shooting Kalin multiple times. Kalin collapsed outside, bleeding heavily on the pavement. People screamed for help, calling 911 while others tried to keep pressure on her wounds. Paramedics rushed her to the hospital, but it was too late. The mother who had buried her child just days earlier was dead. Police responded swiftly. Officers took Kamari Wright into custody at the scene. She was charged with murder and involuntary manslaughter.
A woman has been arrested for the deadly shooting downtown Tuesday night, and she's officially been charged.
Ibrahim Sama joins us in studio with more on those charges and how police say it happened in the first place. So, Ibrahim, what have you learned?
Well, Lauren, 26-year-old Kamari Wright is being charged with murder and voluntary manslaughter. It comes after police say Wright shot and killed 32-year-old Kalin Davidson outside a restaurant downtown Tuesday night.
Prosecutors made it clear, while Kalin may have initiated the physical fight, Kamari escalated it to deadly levels. Self-defense, they explained, doesn't cover chasing someone down and firing multiple rounds into a public place. You can't shoot a fleeing person in the back and claim you feared for your life. But there was one problem. No one could deny that Kalin had thrown the first punch. It was a detail that Kamari's defense team would later use to argue that she had acted under threat. However, the most shocking revelation was yet to come. While Kalin's family planned her funeral, Kamari, who was released on bond, seemed more concerned with her own fate. Instead of expressing remorse, she turned to social media. In Facebook videos and posts, she downplayed her role, insisted that she had been dragged into a feud she didn't start, and claimed she was unfairly targeted. In one live stream before trial, she openly admitted she was scared of going to jail. She complained about having to wear white underwear when booked, joked about not being tough right now, and even admitted she wanted to get high before turning herself in because she couldn't handle the stress.
This better be in and the out. I swear to God, they better not be trying to play with me.
How much did you
Nothing. It was nothing. Like, that's why I don't know why they honest with me. Like,
Nothing like this or nothing like all this?
a little bit more.
So
It was nothing.
it's like a quad.
Talking about big girl jail, Daisy, don't start. No.
That's what I'm saying. What you-
I'm scared as fuck. Like, no, dude. I'm scared as a bitch.
Meanwhile, across town, Kalin's loved ones prepared for yet another funeral. On June 1st, 2022, she was laid to rest beside her son Kyler. The grief was indescribable. Her friends said the once vibrant young mother would never again walk into a room laughing, never again post about her baby boy, never again have the chance to rebuild her life after tragedy. But soon, Kamari's case would move forward. At trial in late 2023, prosecutors argued that Kamari had acted out of anger, not fear. They highlighted surveillance, witness statements, and forensic evidence showing Kalin was running away when she was shot. They pointed to Kamari's own reckless behavior, chasing Kalin, pulling the trigger in a public place, and endangering the lives of other people. But Kamari's defense painted a different picture. A woman provoked, attacked, and forced to defend herself. They emphasized Kalin had hit her first and argued Kamari reacted instinctively. Then came the verdict. On November 3, 2003, the jury delivered its verdict. Kamari Wright was found guilty not of murder, but voluntary manslaughter. The firearm enhancement prosecutors pushed for didn't stick.
Here at home, we have new information on a woman accused in a deadly shooting outside the Linden Grill. The trial for Kamari Wright has been rescheduled. She is the woman police believe 32-year-old Kalin Davidson after the two got into a fight in May of 2022. At a hearing on Monday, a firearm enhancement charge was added to the case against Wright. That's in addition to the murder and manslaughter charges she was already facing. Her trial is now set for September 18th.
In December, she was sentenced to 10 years in prison with credit for time served and good behavior. She could be out in under 7 years, but the public's reactions were divided. Some felt justice had been served, others called the sentence a joke, pointing out that a grieving mother had lost her life in broad daylight, and her killer would likely walk free before the decade was over. For Kalin's family, no sentence could heal the wound. They had lost not one but two family members in the span of weeks, a mother and her young son. Friends continued to share memories online, calling Kalin strong, beautiful, and fiercely protective of her child. The community that once celebrated Kyler's short life now mourned both mother and son together. This tragedy wasn't just about a feud between two women. It was about a cycle of grief, pain, and anger that escalated beyond control. It was about a community watching social media conflicts spill into real-world violence. And it was about the devastating consequences of firearms in the wrong hands. Kalin Davidson and her son Kyler now rest side by side. The noise, the beef, the anger, all of it is gone. What remains is the memory of a little boy whose life was cut short and a mother who never got the chance to heal. This case should force us to ask hard questions. What signs did we miss? Could more compassion or intervention have saved Kalin from walking into that restaurant? And how many more tragedies will it take before people realize that disputes fueled online can turn fatal in an instant? To Kalin's family and friends and all who loved Kyler, our deepest condolences. May their spirits live on in the hearts they touched, and may their story push us toward a future where people are safe and senseless violence is no longer the norm. What do you think about it? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.